Hello and welcome. Today we are in the grandstand and I've got Gareth Winslade with me, my co-host, and I'm Jim Kimberley. But most excitingly, we have got somebody, as we're filming right now, just off the back of Spain, who has a podium and a very nice trophy. Victor Martins, how are you?
Yeah, I'm great. Thank you. Thanks you for the invitation to speak with you about the first weekend.
Victor, it's amazing. We're looking through that Barcelona race, and you've got all these F3 drivers who have done another season of it, and then Victor Martins right there, just right fighting amongst it. You were doing really, really well. So great to see. How was it from your side?
It was the first weekend of learning. I think just to get used to everything with the team on a race weekend, to free practice, then straight into qualifying. Even if we had testing here in Barcelona before the race, but just getting back to our base, to take back my marks on the track and to be straight away at the top was great to start working into for the qualifying and for the three races. After it's just, the results were great, obviously, but there is still a lot to learn. But I will say it's good for the further rounds.
Yeah, well, 3 point scoring races, 1 podium, almost taking pole position as well. Were you expecting to be that much on the pace to start with, or was this all quite a surprise when you got back to the pits on Friday and Saturday?
I think with the team and myself, we knew that we had the pace to be at the front, to be fighting for the top 10 at least. But when we were in testing, the pace was really good. I think we were all doing a good job. We were improving the car every time on the track. And then when you go into a race weekend, it's different. It's just like you have free practice, so you have to start well. Even if you put only one set, you have one lap, so it doesn't represent well the pace of everyone. But after the qualifying was just it was quite a mess, I will say, with the traffic at the beginning and a little bit of pressure because it's the first qualifying, so you always want to do well. But I was pretty sure that if I was delivering a good lap, I will be at the top. It's just on the last set, I just told myself, okay, do a clean lap. I will not go for a perfect one, but just do a clean lap. The car is working, and you will be there. After, when you see 61,000 behind pole, it's a bit frustrating. But as Mia said, it's just maybe it's better to not be one straight away from the first one. You still need to improve some stuff, so it keep the head down a bit and it keeps you in the work and doing analyzing everything to be there for the next round.
Well, congratulations. It was a great lap and then followed up with some great drives. The big question I have to ask, who keeps that trophy? Is that yours now? Where is it?
Now it's in the MP truck because we are there in Jerez, so to take the flight I had to put it in the truck, but for sure I will maybe take it home when I will be back. But yeah, it's there. It's in the truck, and I hope to have more soon. At the end, it's just a matter of time. But
if that was me, I'd be taking that as my hand luggage just to show everybody on the flight. Have you seen this? But we want to talk a little bit all about this year, but let's go back to your past to start with. I understand that you're a French driver, but your racing career started in Portugal. Is that right?
Yeah. I just I discovered a real go-kart, which you do some races with in Portugal. It's when at this time I was doing gymnastics and I went in holidays with my friend who was doing gymnastics with me, and his father was used to do some Porsche Cup races when he was young. So he knew a bit the motorsport world, and my friend had a go-kart, and I had a go in it, and I straight away loved it. And then when I went back home, I told to my parents I would love to do that sport, but at the end it was a bit it was a big question to for my parents, because the budget was you need to have the budget. It's not an easy decision to take. But then after I think I would say within the 1 or 2 years later, we decided to start. At the beginning, quite just to have kind of fun, not to do some race. But then the people around me told us that we should start to do some races. Firstly, national, like the basic one, but then the results started to come, and then it's just came like that. But it was not. I just follow the stuff just like this, like a kid living his best moments.
That's great. And of course, it's gymnastics and then go-karting / racing don't usually go hand in hand. So you must be one of the very few drivers out there who have a gymnastics career beforehand. And from, again, a little bit of research, I think you were doing pretty well in that too. Has that helped you, do you think, in the go-kart, in racing? I guess go-karting, very, using that strength, that upper body strength, that'd be really helpful. Is that right?
I think mentally also, because I was quite a lot under pressure when I was young. I have been French champion, so I was doing the highest. How can I say? It was the highest competition I could do at 10 years old. I couldn't do a European Championship or a World Championship because there was not any at this level. So I was I had the most pressure I could have. So I think mentally, when I was young, I learned some stuff during a competition too, because in gymnastics it's really, if you do a mistake, the whole competition can be over. So you need to be really precise, just do well without trying some weird stuff, or wanting to do better. So mentally, yes, and then physically, of course, I built a really good base, which really helped me in the go-kart, and since then I just have to keep doing a good preparation, but without I'm not late. I think I'm just there. I need to be consistent every winter. I just keep training like I did since 5 years old. So I'm quite used to train hard, and I think it's helping me a lot today. It helped me a lot in go-kart and in Formula Renault also.
Evidently, you went very well in the gymnastics world. You went very well in karting, going to the World Championship there. And in that last season of karting, I understand that you went to French F4 and decided to embarrass everybody by just getting podiums on debut. Was that your first time in a single-seater car?
Yeah, it was my really first time. I think it was before the World Championship. So that wasn't the ideal decision to take, because I got invited by the French Federation, because I was in the French team at this moment, and they wanted me to do first weekend in F4, just to try to get experience, because the plan was maybe to do F4 the year after, but I think it wasn't ideal for the preparation of the World Championship in karting. But it was my first time. I enjoyed it so much. Straight away, I felt quite good. And then, I remember I was already working with an F2 engineer at this time, and an F3 engineer also. So I was, with really great people, and I could only have fun and enjoy it as much. But it was a good weekend. The results were there straight away, so I think it was. But it was not the plan. I mean, I had in my mind the World Championship in karting, and then even after that, I was not thinking about F4 at this moment because I was quite young. The plan was to keep going in karting, but then the opportunities came to me, and you cannot really refuse them if they are great, and if you see that it can really help you to grow as a driver and to follow the step towards F1, you go for it.
Absolutely, yeah. So Victor, you stepped up to F4 full-time 2017 and then into Formula Renault Euro Cup where you raced for those 3 seasons and racing against your Alpine Academy peers, Christian Lundgaard, Oscar Piastri. What are your memories of those early single-seater years?
I think in 2018 I was quite young. I think mentally I was quite. I had the help from the Renault Sport Academy. I had my manager. I had a lot of people around me, and I had a lot to learn. So I took this year as a year of learning. And I think the results were there also. I mean, I won 2 races, if I'm right, and I did two pole position or something like this. So the pace was there, but the confidence and the maturity was, and the stature in a team to be like as a leader was not there because I was a bit too young and I didn't have so much experience in a single seater. So. That was a year of learning, and then when I went to MP, I think the goal was clearly to win the championship and to be to have this year the stature of being a leader and being a title contender. And then a lot of things happened during that year. Maybe I think I saw myself too early as a title contender. I wanted too much to be at the front, like to win too much race, and then I lost a bit myself with the pressure, with the confidence, with the team, with myself. And then I remember middle of the season, I worked a lot on myself with my mental coach and with the team. I had a big discussion with them. To rebuild, everything, the confidence, the pleasure also in the car, because I'm pretty sure I wasn't having any more pleasure when I was going on the track, and it's the worst. I mean, we do that sport it's our passion. So the first time we want to have is to enjoy. And then after that discussion, after all that work, it just went so well. The result came back, and I think we were over everyone. We were better than everyone, but it was a bit too late. I still did a few mistakes which didn't help me to get that title, but I really learned a lot. And then going into the last season, I just wanted to just learn what I did in 2019 and manage better my confidence and the work with the team.
Yeah, and so as you say, I mean, you've answered this quite a lot. You did those 3 seasons of Formula Renault with 5th in your first year, 2nd in your second, and obviously winning the title in 2020 last season. So I mean, your results, looking from the outside, looked amazing. So it's really fascinating to hear that insight of how the seasons actually were for you. But you're in a new car this year then. Are you going to miss the Formula Renault, or is it just really nice to finally be into a new car?
No, it's finally nice. I waited for that since 3 years. When it's also quite difficult when you see like my teammates like in the academy, like Christian or Max or even Oscar going into Formula 3, and me, I'm still in Formula Renault. But I try to step back a bit and say, okay, then what I will have to do is to do, it's a bit weird to say, but as many mistakes I can during those 3 seasons, to not do them in Formula 3 and be ready to be at the front and to fight for the top 3 or top 5. But then I waited to be in A3 since a lot of time, maybe I miss a bit the little car. I mean, I really enjoy to drive in Formula Renault, but when you experience a Formula 3, I think you don't want to go back, and you want to even step up again, because the feeling in the car is just unbelievable.
Yeah, amazing stuff. So can you talk to us a little bit about how that first link with the Renault Sport Academy came about? Who made those first steps to join forces?
I think it was after my first F4 season, after Paul Ricard. After that weekend was a bit difficult, because I did a big mistake, which didn't allow me to get the title and to get that promotion into the academy. Mm-hmm. But I think I showed during that first year that I had the potential, I had the speed, and that I could be in the academy. And so we had with my personal manager, with Mia, they had the discussion, and then it all started from there after my result in F4. And then also it came quite late, because I had the first test in a Formula Renault, which went really well also. So it was just a matter of maturity and learning in the racecraft, what kind of decision I was going to take in a race. And but for sure, I think the speed, the pace, everything was there, and I think it what helped me to be a Renault Sport Academy driver at this moment.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. And obviously you won the championship last year, and winning any championship is just such an amazing achievement. Mm-hmm. But what are your feelings knowing you are the last ever Euro Cup champion? I mean, your name is always going to be in the history books, along with some illustrious talent like Valtteri Bottas, Lando Norris, the legendary Kamui Kobayashi. So how does that feel?
It feels amazing, because as you said, I will be the last winner of that championship. But I think that this championship, you could see in F1, they are all almost coming from that championship, so it makes the championship even more important to be in. I mean, you learn a lot. For me, it was in Formula Renault. It was the first season. I was the first year in a single seater. I was with a private team. You know, in karting you are with your team, so there is a lot of private team. But in F4, I was the championship was made by the FFSA Academy, so we were all kind of in the same team with the same engineer. But in Formula Renault, you really start to feel again the confidence of your team, the private work, the secret you have with them, all this little improvement, the feedback you give to them, the change you made into the rounds. So it's why you really start again to feel all that people around, only yourself and your teammate, of course, but it's a team who you work with. And then it's the first time into the single seater I could really feel that. And then of course the further years, it's always the same with your team. But yeah, was great, and I'm happy to be the last one to have won it.
Absolutely, yeah. And then obviously last year you had temporary split with the Renault Sport Academy, as was. A question I'm sure you're not sick of answering it. how did the other season go, and then how did it happen with the split and then the reuniting?
I think it was I think you already saw that what we already said, but I think it's just I didn't get the title, so I can. And then the decision, because I didn't get the title, was difficult to take between going into Formula 3 or staying in Formula Renault to get it. After on the like Mia's side and the Renault Sport Academy side, I think they wanted me to step up, to go in Formula 3. And on my personal manager side, they wanted me to stay and to still learn and being able to get the first title, because the first title is always important as a driver. I finished second, but to have the statue as someone who have a title in his hands is always good to show the teams that you want something, and they maybe your value as a driver can be a lot higher if you win something than if you end up as in the top 3, for example. So those decisions were really hard to take, and then at the end we split, but the goal was still the same. I mean, it was to win the title for sure, because if not, I knew that it was going to be hard to continue and to still believe in my dream. But I knew that if I was doing the job, if I was learning, I was still learning and doing little mistake which allow me to be better today, I will have the chance to be back in the academy, because the relationship was great. I mean, we were not okay, you don't go in S3, okay, we don't look after you anymore. No, the relationship was still there. I think they were still following my results, and you can see that. Yeah, it proved at the end that I get the title and I'm back in the academy.
I have to ask, now you can be honest, was it just you saying, if you want me back, you have to change your color scheme?
No,
nothing like that. No, but in all seriousness, how did that reconciliation happen? Did you just keep in touch throughout the 2020 season, and then once you got that title, it was a happy reunion?
Yeah, after it's during a full year, there a lot of things is happening. I had a really good and hard fight with Kai also. So for sure that I was also back with I was with ART, which who was a team which was back in the Formula Renault since more than 15 years. So obviously at the beginning it was the important for me was to help them for them to give me the best car. So at the beginning maybe it was quite hard to get into the rhythm and get some results, but at the end, as soon as I understood how the team works and what kind of feedback they want me to give after a session or after a race weekend, I think we started to be really strong and to really be at the top, and then after the reunion, it's just okay, the result is there. We see that you are going for the title. Then I saw the project who was going to happen with MP in Formula 3 with Alpine, with this support. Then we all say, okay, I think it's a really strong project. So yeah, I wanted to go in S3. I wanted to be with a good team. They wanted me, and then what you can say, you can only say yes, and let's go.
So with the coming to F3 and you're with MP Motorsport, like you mentioned, you had that time with ART, and ART and Prema are just absolutely prolific on that level, and Piastri winning the title last year with Prema. So it sounds like that Alpine and MP have this F3 program. Did you have any say in the team, or was it, if you're going to F3 with the Alpine Academy, as it's now known, that it was going to be with MP Motorsport?
I think after my Formula Renault season, to be honest, I didn't really know where I was going first, because my manager is the owner of ART, so it's quite a lot of people ask me why you didn't go there, or why you went to MP, or all that question. But at the end I didn't get this opportunity, or the opportunity didn't come to me. So I had the opportunity to go to MP and to be with Alpine, to also be with Caio as a teammate, and after when you see and when you put on the table what can be good and what can be not good for you, we took that decision. I think it's a really good decision. We showed today that I think it was the right one, because okay, maybe I go to ART, but I don't feel well or whatever, or it's just there I have the support of Alpine. They can really help the team. It's what they are doing. They really work together. They help us also as a driver, and then yes, it's just the opportunity, or we didn't really thought about going to ART or Prema.
Mm-hmm. So you say you got that Alpine support now, and you've just experienced your first F1 weekend with Alpine. And do you get any of the perks? Are you allowed in the motorhome? Are you having breakfast with Fernando Alonso, taking all his ideas, or are you giving him the advice?
No, not yet. Not yet, because of the COVID situation. It's quite hard. We are not allowed to go to the F1 paddock, but for sure, for example, Mia was there to be with us, and then in the test we already had some people from Alpine who came to see how we were working, what kind of approach we had with the team. What kind of job we were doing, the feedback we were saying to them, all the work we were doing at the end on a race weekend. Now it's just I hope maybe in the future, maybe at the end of the year, I could maybe go to the F1 paddock and be there, and maybe listen to what Alonso and Ocon are saying to the team, their feedback, what they are working on. But yeah, I think quite soon I will be able to go to Enson also. So I'm sure I will be able to see them there and speak with all the engineers and start a relationship. When you have a relationship, is much easier to speak and to have a good decision with what you are doing, or what is the goal after.
Yeah, of course, it's going to be great for you with Alpine and F3 being the primary support series when you're there that weekend. No F2 big brother to take the limelight away from you guys. Speaking of the F2, F3 differences, F3's calendar this year looking really good, and fans seem to be unanimous that it's a better calendar than F2's. Any particular tracks that you're excited to go to? Have you been to all of them? I'm guessing COTA is the big one.
Yeah, I think Austin will be quite nice. I think it's the first time F3 is going out of Europe, if I
think so.
So it's quite excited even for them, for the championship. But after, I would say, I think we have a pretty good weekend. I think everyone is agree that we have a better one than F2. But at the end, F2, I really like street circuits. So I think it's still interesting, and I think you still enjoy that. But for this year, Budapest, I'm really looking forward to be there. Spa also, I think with the S3 cars, it's really fast. In Formula, I know it's okay, but in the straight, you are like, let's go to the next corner. It's it's a bit slow. But with DRS in Spa, I think it will be quite fun. But Budapest and Austin is the two best one. I'm looking forward to be there.
Excellent stuff. And you mentioned DRS there, and what's your view on DRS? Does it feel weird to adapt to using it? How does it feel like when you first open that rear wing and have it on your car?
The first time you open it, you really feel. I mean, when I was in Formula Renault, and I knew a lot of drivers in S3, so I was asking them, but what is the thing? Do you really feel it? And they were saying, yes, you straight away you feel you have a lot of power, and then yes, honestly you really feel as soon as you open it, like, oh, the car is free. There is a lot of freedom, and it's like it will go really, really fast. But the most difficult, I think, for rookies or for myself was in the race with the DRS zone, where we have to be in the 1 second gap. I think it's pretty hard. I could see that in the race, that if you don't manage well, if you do a little mistake, especially in Barcelona, where it's quite difficult to overtake, if everyone has the DRS, but you just follow each other and you cannot do anything. But you need to be in that 1 second. So if you do one mistake, you are done. It's over, and you get overtaken by one or two, or I don't know, but a lot of cars. In Formula Renault, I didn't have this before. We almost had no overtakes. So when you were doing a mistake, you were just even if the car was close, we were losing so much in the high-speed corners that you couldn't do anything. So now the little mistake, they can do a lot of difference. So I think this is important. And when you are in a race also, and you are struggling with the tires, for example, in race 3, I was trying to stay in the DRS as much as possible, just to not be in trouble with the cars behind. So I was a bit struggling with my tires, but I had to push also. But that's quite difficult, when you are struggling with the degradation and with the tires. The best for sure is to step back a bit for 2-3 laps, to just to not go over the limits, to not slide. But when you have cars behind and like you are 1.2 seconds behind the car in front, you need to push, and the mistake can come quickly. So it was quite difficult between pushing and taking a bit of limits.
Yeah, and just quick follow on from that. Do you feel the loss of downforce? Because obviously, you feel the increase in power and your car goes much quicker. But for example, out of the second DRS in Barcelona is out of turn 9, so you're very quickly coming out of a corner and opening the DRS.
Yeah.
Are you aware of how much downforce you've just taken off your car?
Yeah. We feel it, and I think if you could see, and I could feel in the car when you go out of that corner with oversteer, you take a bit of time to take the DRS, because you can easily but you feel. I mean, I think it was after race 2, I was speaking with Caio, and we were both saying like, whoa, at some point I went out of that corner with oversteer. I took the DRS and the car just moved like this, because
wow,
it's putting out a lot of downforce. So you really feel the difference. It's like the car is stuck on the ground. You take it, and the car, it's just lift from the ground, and you have no grip on the rear. So yeah,
Uh,
but it's quite
amazing
exciting.
skills.
Yeah. It's kind of a bet, you know, what you either you wait a bit or you don't wait and you manage the car.
Fantastic stuff. And when we spoke to Oscar Piastri, he was saying to us just how it's astonishing how heavy the F3 and the F2 car are compared to the old F4 and the Formula Renault. So have you found that sort of same thing? And you know, which one of the three cars did you most enjoy driving, and which one would you perhaps keep in your fantasy garage if you could keep one?
It's quite difficult to say because at the beginning of with the new Formula Renault, it was like quite hard. I mean, the way to drive the car was really difficult. It's the most you were, I mean, how can I say? You were if you were pushing a lot the entries, you were not going to be fast. So you had to take a lot of margin on entry, then feel how was the car to have a good minimum and exit speed. But as soon as I understood that, I really started to enjoy a lot the Formula Renault. But if you don't really understand, you go out of the car, you see the data, and you are like, but I don't know how. No, but I saw that from other drivers also, that they were pushing, and they were seeing the data. Okay, I lose there, but I don't know why, and they were still doing the same. And I think it's as soon as you understand it, and I could have this discussion with Oscar, with Caio, and we all have the same. We were all having the same approach, just no entry speed, and you all bet on the minimum and exit speed. But then at this point where I was understanding well the car, I was enjoying it. But straight when I went into Formula 3, I straight away enjoyed it. So I will put this one first. Then the new Formula Renault second, and then the last one third, because you had to think a lot with the new Formula Renault. So that was pretty interesting and exciting. And it makes a bit of it can make more difference between drivers. So it's quite it was good to learn how to adapt to a car.
Fantastic stuff. And you've mentioned Caio already. So Caio Collet, your fellow Alpine Academy driver and teammate in MP Motorsport. He's a fellow F3 rookie this year. Do you see him as your main rookie challenger for the season?
I mean, yeah, why not? Why not? I think if we do a good job, if we do a good job, we keep working like this. The goal is to be the two first rookies. I think this will be I would say the first goal, the minimum. But no, first I think we have a really, really good relationship. I know him from karting. I was already fighting with him, but always clear fight. I mean, clean one. I never had a fight with him or not a good relationship. Then with the team, we know that we are there, of course, for us. We need to deliver, we need to do results, but we are together also to help the team, for them to give us a really good car to perform. So for the moment, we are just keeping the work like this, keeping the relationship the same. And then we know that if we stay in our place, all will go well. I mean, of course, you want to beat your teammate. We speak about that, and we sometimes we have this discussion where like, yeah, but we know each other. We want to be in front of. I want to be in front of you. You want to be in front of me, but it's not the first thing which is coming into our mind right now. It's just to work together and to help the team as much as possible.
That's a fantastic positive approach between you guys then. And just one final one on this F3 season then. Obviously, to win the championship is the primary goal for every driver. But is there a position where, if you got to that position, it would be, you and Mia would be perhaps talking about going to F2 next season rather than doing a second season in F3, or is it always the plan to do 2 F3 seasons?
I think if for me, if we can be in the top 3, I think will be a really good result. If we keep going. After, it's quite difficult. We started Barcelona, for me, quite strongly. I think we didn't really expect to be there straight away. Of course, there are still a lot of areas to improve. But when you take like 24 points, it's already, if you play, I think, between 25 and 35 each weekend, I think you can fight for top 3 or the championships. So we need to see how every single weekend will be. How because Barcelona we did a lot of the tests there, so we knew we had the pace. My confidence was good, but when you go to a race weekend where I didn't drive yet with the F3, I think I need to how can I say, to be ready to struggle a bit more. To be a bit more in the difficult zone than okay, all is good, we can enjoy and all this thing. But if we keep going like this and we end up in the top 3, I think it will be a good result. At the end, I have no idea if for the moment the plan is to go to F2 if I do that result, or doing again F3. But I want to first, again, keep going like this, keep doing the job, and fight as soon as possible for pole position and victories.
We've got France as the next race, your home race. There might be a possibility of some fans going as well, from stuff I've said. How important would that be for you to drive in front of a home crowd? Did you really feel that you'd get that big surge of French support?
I think, I'm sure if there will be I hope there will be fans. I hope there will be spectators to have that support. But even this weekend, almost no fans were there. Only a few one in the main grandstand. But I could really already get some really nice and kind message and in my phone. I can really see that support from the French fans. So if they are here, it will be even better. But if they are not here, I think there will be they will be behind their phone, I think, supporting me. So it's great. It's great to race at home. It will be my first home Grand Prix. So I will need to enjoy it as maximum. I don't want to expect anything, because you never know if there will be no fans. I can be it's like this. Everyone has the same during for now on 1.5 years is almost the same. But I hope there will be, but even if there will be some, I don't think we will be able to really see them to go to discuss with some people. So for the moment, it's a bit all beyond the phone, but I take this because what I received was really kind, and I could really feel this support.
That's really encouraging to hear, especially when you hear so many negative social media stories. Yeah. It sounds great that you're getting that fandom. Now,
to also be ready at some point, maybe to receive some maybe not good messages. I spoke a bit about. I had this discussion already about that with the people around with me, with my family, with my physio, and you need to be ready also to have some not really nice message, and it needs to not affect me, because if I want to go to step up to go to F1, I think a lot of drivers, they receive some not nice messages. But first, for the moment, they are all nice, so listen, let's enjoy.
Yeah, well, yeah. If you're getting the hate messages, you must be doing something right. So think of it that way. Lewis Hamilton gets an awful lot. But I want to talk. Actually, very good segue. Lewis Hamilton got 100 pole positions last weekend. You, phenomenal qualifier. Do you think that's one of your strongest suits? Is that your strength for this year? You've only got 6 qualifying sessions for the rest of the season. Are we going to see you on pole?
I hope so. I will try to do my best. No, for sure. For sure, I want to get pole position this year because it's how can I say, it's something where I feel really good at it, and I feel really comfortable in it. For like today, I feel more comfortable in qualifying than in the race, because in the race there is the fight. You need to think about the tires. You need to think about a lot of things. But in qualifying, it's just, okay, it's clear. You need to push, and that's it. Feel the limits, give the right info to the teams, and then you deliver that lap at the end. So I'm really comfortable at it for the moment. So if we keep going like this, if I'm doing the job and I have a good car, why not really soon?
Why not, indeed. Now, final question. That's going to be away from racing. And I think I'm going to know what it is from your background, but what is something that's a non-racing skill that you would just have the entire F3 grid beat at? What are you the best at that nobody else will be?
That's a good question. I think I love cooking. I love cooking, and I do it pretty well. So that's the first thing which is coming into my mind. After, I don't know, I do a lot of sports, so in the sport, in every kind of sport, I'm quite good. I think you maybe heard that from some people that in the academy I'm called Mr. Fitness. So you can imagine why and how important sport is for me. So.
Mr. Fitness and that meal. So if Grand Prix Grandstand get a chance to actually, in the post-COVID world, come round to the Victor Martins house, and what are we going to get cooked for us? What is a staple meal?
If you come, I will say if you come before a race weekend, a really good, nice white fish with a lot of vegetables and not a lot of carbs. So maybe if you like carbs, you will not enjoy. But after, if you come, no, for sure you will have a nice meal and a really good workout after that.
I don't think I could keep up with you. I've seen some of those posts on social media. That's a lot of good working out for you. But I just want to say thank you for joining us in the grandstand, and we really hope you have a tremendous season. First year in Formula 3, already started so well, and long may it continue.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.